Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Two Literal. I am Tashee.
I'm Ricki.
And this is Jess.
Hey.
So we're going to keep talking about our Solaria series, but first we have to recap what's been going on because I haven't talked to you guys in a couple of times, a while or something. I don't know. It's been a minute. So my favorite question always, what are you guys reading?
I am reading The Awakening, but from the boys' point of view.
Are you enjoying yourself already or are you still at the beginning?
Where am I? I'm only like 200 pages in, I think. Not even. I'm at the beginning still.
Okay. I'm excited for you to read further into that and see if your opinions change about events that happened in book one versus how they were happening on the boys' side. Has anything like that already happened in your reading? Okay. What about you, Ricki? What are you reading?
So aside from Zodiac Academy, I've been reading the Shadow and the Ember series by Jennifer Armentrout. Which is like a prequel to, tell me again, Tashee, the name of the
From Blood and Ash.
From Blood and Ash. So this is a prequel, and it talks about everything from the gods and primal perspective. And I know you're like in love with Nyctos. I like Nyctos.
I like him more than Cass. But okay. I don't dislike Cass. I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick the male
Between
characters.
the two. I agree with that.
He's the superior character.
I agree with that. So I'm on book 3. Book 4 just came out, and actually I already have it, but I just haven't started reading it yet.
It's 32 hours.
So
I have it too.
Oh, wow.
I haven't done it yet. Yeah.
Is that the final one in the series, or are there
for the prequel?
Okay,
for the prequel,
gotcha.
Yes. I personally feel like the prequel is better than the main starter series. How are you feeling about that?
No, I agree with that. I don't know if I have a specific reason why I think it's better. I just think that how everything flowed and maybe some of the characters I enjoy more. I don't know.
I think also it's less questions.
Yeah.
Like a lot of From Blood and Ash is like, none of this makes sense. Why are all these things happening? And you don't get it till like way in the back end. And this is like,
and did she start reading this? Did she start writing this prequel after From Blood and Ash came out?
Yeah,
because I wonder if she took some of that like feedback that she was getting from that to this series. So
yeah, probably. Jazz, if you read that one, which it's great, you should read it. Even though I said From Blood and Ash is not my favorite, it's still not a bad book in my opinion. It's a weird order to reading it too. Like, you know how I was like, before you read Zodiac Academy, you need to read Ruthless Boys because it just makes sense. Well, with this one, it's like you read 1, 2, one of the other book, 1, 2, 3, 4, second. Like it's a weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's a weird
cluster.
Why is it like that?
It's worth it when you do it that way. I feel like it makes. Ricki, you read it the first series, then the second series, and I did.
I was gonna
too.
say I typically don't read them in the order that people suggest. I read them in the order that they are typically written. And even this one, because this one, some of the books came out while For Blood and Ash were still being released. So I waited until I was done with what has been written so far from For Blood and Ash to read this one. Some people have a specific order. It's the same thing with Throne of Glass series. Some people have a different order that they read it in, and then reading in tandem and like all that begins to be too much. So
and I'm reading The Secret Life of Maggie Granger. I read like 25 books last year, but most of them were Ice Planet Barbarian books. And
last month.
Last month for October. But this one is actually a POC author, so I'm like uber excited about this. And it already has a book 2, and she's a vampire. But also, I'm not gonna lie, what made me want to read it is I saw a TikTok. And this cover was really dope. And I was like, ooh, dope cover. Let me read. I judged the book by its cover. I don't feel bad about it.
I like the vibes that she has going on.
Right? Is it not? And then this is only like the Kindle cover. If you get like the hardback, it looks different. And it's not giving the same thing. It's not. it's not making me feel what this made me feel. But I had to stop because I think I'm not even like 20 pages in. So like I'm like freshly reading this and there's no audio book. So, you know, that's a whole nother beast for me. She's supposed to write a paper for college. She's getting her PhD and like she didn't write her paper. So she just starts recounting a story that her grandma was telling her. But then it kind of switches from her recounting the story to her like hearing it from her grandma's perspective, retelling the story. And it was giving a lot of gothic vibes and it was late at night and I'm scary. It is what it is. I'm not gonna lie. So I was just like, oh, maybe I'll read that in the morning. It looks good, but no thanks. But it was like a civil rights recounting situation. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Because book 2 is already out, the Drew Collins book 2. And it looks kind of creepy too, but we'll talk about that later. I think we should jump into Zodiac Academy, Shadow Princess. So the first thing that we're doing is coming back off of the twins and Darius and Lance and Xavier, because I feel like we see Xavier a lot more in this book moving forward. All getting the shadows because Lionel sucks. We were honestly should get a banner that says Lionel sucks, because I feel like that's the theme from here on out.
Yeah.
In every book, Lionel sucks. The twins also finally got their order. Jazz, you are the person I want to talk to about this most. How are you feeling about the emergence of them being phoenixes? What was your...
Love it. I think I told you guys that I predicted that Tori was going to be a dragon. I think I love Phoenix better. Like, what? They're orders that haven't been around in like what, thousands of years or something like that. Like, that's awesome. And I love that for them. More power, more reason for Lionel to hate them, but still awesome.
And then one of the best things that like we get immediately is like what their order gifts are, because they go through the dark coercion. They're not susceptible to that. And it sounded like, just based off how the beginning of the chapter was, or the beginning of that conversation, that chapter was going between Lance and Darius, they were like hoping like, woo. And because both of them have a thing for the twins, I think it's super funny that like, woo, I hope they don't find out how really fucked up we are. Like, you know, but we get an introduction into their order gifts immediately. Ricki, what were you thinking on the reread?
I was excited for the order to come out, but I was a little bit, just from a self-preservation perspective, I think I was a little bit annoyed that they didn't hide the fact that the Dark Coalition did not work on them from Darius and Orion. Like, for Tori to be so upset about Darius and, you know, he chose his dad's side, or he chose so-and-so over her, or whatever the case may be, but you're telling him your secret still. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was annoyed at that.
I was a little frustrated personally with, okay, I feel like you got to pick a side. And I get that, like, when things are happening in real time, you're doing the best with what you got at the time. Yeah. But like, to your point, if you're keeping a secret, keep a secret, because why tell them, hey, we can fight through this, but also we have the shadow, but we're not going to tell you we have the shadows. Like, pick a side. Like, what? Yeah. What are we doing? Do you need help? I feel like they straddled a lot, and them straddling the fence a lot. And I understand that that's from an emotional, you know, attachment that they have to these two men, but them straddling, I feel like, caused most of the issues in the next couple of books, instead of them, just like you said, either we're going to trust them or we're not going to trust them. And I would like to point out also that not only are they straddling, but both of them are leaning the opposite way with their straddling, because the way Darcy trusts Lance is obviously much greater than how Tori trusts Darius. Yeah. Because I think that also kind of goes back to why they start keeping secrets from each other, which we kind of see in this book. Yeah. With Tori, it was the shadows. But also, I would like to point out, because you guys know how I feel about Darcy, it just is what it is. I think Tori tends to have a little bit more guilt about keeping things away from Darcy than Darcy has when it comes to Tori. I'm not saying she doesn't feel any guilt, so please don't misunderstand that. Because she came out with like, hey, I've been playing with the shadows. I know I shouldn't have been doing that, but I've been playing with the shadows. And Darcy says that's not good, and we're going to go tell. And she's like, okay, you're right. Like, you know, like, whereas...
But I think that the reason for that is because Tori still has a larger level, in my opinion, of codependency when it comes to Darcy. I feel like the reason that I'm not as upset with Darcy, even about choosing, you know, her love over going with her eventually in the series is because
I'll never forgive that. But keep going.
Because I feel like there's a level of codependency, and I think that the reason, so like for instance, me being married, there are certain things that I would always choose my husband over versus the family I came from, because that is the family I chose to create. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it's the same way when it comes to her and Orion and their relationship, and a lot of things that she's keeping from them is because that's part of her that, you know, I chose this path. This is something that I'm going to fully invest myself in. And Tori doesn't have that yet. So she still has a level of codependency when it comes to Darcy.
She had a path. She did. Because did she not pursue it afterwards? She just prioritized the kingdom. I get what you're saying, but her initial thought was, hey, we doing this and I need you because we're in this together. It was, I get, though, I'm not taking away from the codependency talk, because it's a fair assertion. It's a fair assertion. But I don't think at that, specifically in that instance, I don't think it was. I definitely think it was in this one, because a lot of times as we go through the series, specifically right now, I think for books 4 and 5, definitely not 6, but 4 and 5, Darcy stands as more of the regulator for them, like the person that kind of levels things out. I feel like that's a fair assertion. We also meet one of my favorite old people, but I only like him in this series because I didn't like him as much in Ruthless Boys. Gabriel is back.
I love it.
And he's their teacher.
You don't love that?
You don't like him more in this series than Ruthless Boys?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, he was an a-hole, but I feel like he's an a-hole in this series. The only difference is we see him with his...
I feel like he's more removed.
Like when we saw him in Ruthless Boys and how he reacted with Orion, it's the same as how he acts now. He's just around people that are his...
No, it was beginning then, and it's established now, and it's just funnier that... I mean, I personally really adore that, like, especially having context. I know Jazz didn't have context when she was reading, just how much him and Darius do not get along. It is the funniest part of the whole series to me, the way they bump heads. Like, it is my favorite thing ever.
Like they're fighting over a boyfriend or something.
Literally. Yeah, like, he was my friend first. Like, I was listening to it the other day, and it was funny because Darius was saying, like, me and the Heirs are nebular allies too, and we don't act like that. Like, it's like figuring out if it's jealousy or hurt feelings, but it's a little bit of both. Jazz, what are you thinking about Xavier and Sophia?
I do love that as well. I don't know how it's gonna be, like, if and when hopefully he does go to Zodiac. I just don't know how that's gonna be. Like, are they gonna become a thing? Like, I'm interested to figure out how that's gonna go. But I like that they're talking to each other still. But I want Xavier to have more friends. I want him to have more people other than Sophia.
You guys know who we don't talk about enough in this series? Jenkins. I hate him. I hate Jenkins.
I feel like
he's the butler.
Oh, yeah, he gotta go.
I feel like it gradually gets worse the further you get into the series.
There's more
for him.
No.
Yeah.
You always kind of know that he's like super like he's definitely the snitch in the house. Like you know, like he's the person.
And didn't we see him in Ruthless Boys too, from when they tried to go to the house and steal something?
I think so.
And he was the reason they ended up getting caught in the first place. So I just feel like he's one of those background characters that continues to like instigate.
Perpetuate the story for sure in the negative way.
He gotta go. He definitely has to go.
Okay. Did anybody have any like plot points that were really important to them that they wanted to bring up, or things that you really liked, or things that were really funny? Just anything like that?
I'm really trying to remember the book because I did this one and then I did 5, and that was like forever.
I know one thing that I feel like is important, especially with where the cliffhanger ends on this book, is Tori's relationships, specifically how they're going. Like the more Caleb tries, the more personally I feel like we all kind of see like they don't fit. They do not work. Like it doesn't. They are not on the same page. Like there's a level to, because also wait, Geraldine and Max.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Geraldine and Max. But like how everybody off of what was it called? I don't want to call it the wrong thing. What was happening the eclipse? Is that what it was? It was a solar eclipse.
Yeah.
It was the eclipse.
Yes.
How everybody was pretty much out here shagging and dragging with everybody, but Caleb had to go home, so he didn't go and hunt Tory, which by the way they're doing anyway, and it sounds very unsafe, like extremely unsafe. Like you pretty much know something dangerous is gonna happen and then you're gonna die or something. But no, they're just like, let's flirt. You hunt me and then bite me. What could possibly go wrong? Like so stupid. Jazz, you read Never Keep. Isn't it interesting the difference in how like vampires are there versus here?
Like the ones in Neverkeep, they're like the Twilight like vampires. You know, they're together and like
they have covens.
I think they have covens. But in Zodiac, they're alone. Like they're like solitary. They don't like people. They don't like being around any other fae. Like I like that. I like them better in Zodiac. They're not as scary. They are scary, but they're definitely scarier in Neverkeep.
In Neverkeep, yeah, for sure. Ricki, you gotta read that. You gotta read.
So
that.
is it more of like a dark? Is it darker? Starting out, I guess this is the first book. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I haven't got to that yet, but I don't think. I feel like even as the series gets darker, because Zodiac Academy definitely gets darker. I don't feel like you've had your worst cliffhanger yet. Oh,
that's all I'm
absolutely
saying.
not.
I don't feel like you've had your worst cliffhanger yet.
It gets worse.
The next two are not great. I
think
great.
every book leading like till the end, I feel like there's like a huge moment at the end, if not in the middle of the book.
I need a happy moment. You know, I need something good.
So they're really good about that. I feel like the writers are giving you like funny moments. Neverkeep, in my opinion, did not have as many funny moments. The things that were funny in Neverkeep were more like internal dialogues. Like,
you know what was funny in that book? Galam. I love him.
Oh yeah. He was. I'm gonna say he was a little different than everybody else. Take that to mean whatever you want it to.
I agree, but I love him.
But he was like the comic relief.
Yes,
like
he needed to be in the book.
Yeah, but so back to the relationships. So sorry, tangent. I love you guys for having crazy enough brains to just follow that. Appreciate you.
Because what I don't get is if there's too much damage done from Darius, why is there not too much damage done from Caleb? I understand that Caleb was on the outskirts, but he still was involved with and led to some of the same things that happened between, all of this. She talks about the drowning or almost drowning, and all of the situations that have happened between her and the heirs. It's all of the heirs. So if there was too much between her and Darius, and the whole sushi, it's so funny how much she despised that. And I was like, I thought it was a great date.
He like had a whole date planned out.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
It would have been perfect. And Caleb did all the things that she hated. And I thought it was funny.
I think it's hilarious because in the way Caleb dates to me is very much reflective of like real life. People taking you on a date that they would enjoy versus seeing what you would like. Because there was I feel like Tory said many times, like, hey, we don't have to date. Like, we could just keep smashing and grabbing it. Mm-hmm. This is fine. This works because there's nothing that you can really do with me long term. Caleb said, I can't be with you because we would produce kids that's more powerful than the heirs, and we don't do that. She said, she was like, yeah, so like, why do you keep wanting to date me? Even though, like, retrospectively, we know what was driving that because it was just the wedge that he was forming, more or less, even though he wasn't. First of all, I don't understand why nobody picked up on what was happening. Really was making me mad there.
I feel that way too.
I can almost forgive Lance, but still even barely can I forgive him. But he had his own problems. I mean, love going on, not problems. Yeah. He was focused elsewhere. I feel like Darius is always kind of, in my opinion, Tory always kind of gives Darius a little bit more grief for everything. Like, we know how Tori feels about Darcy specifically. Like how there is nothing that she wouldn't do and how everybody is up to be sacrificed for Darcy. But the moment he did the same thing with Xavier, she was like, you didn't even I know you wanted to help us, but you didn't do anything. Yeah. Like,
yeah,
girl, I just met you. That's my brother. Like,
so do you guys think that part of it, you know how like on Vampire Diaries, it talks about how she only ended up with Stefan because she met or thought she met Stefan first instead of meeting Damon first? Do you feel like it was almost that way when it came to Darius and Caleb because she interacted more with Caleb first as opposed to Darius?
No. Because if I recall correctly on my reread, I remember kind of noting that one of the first things Tori said was like, "Oh, that's my kind of problem." Like when she saw Darius, like she was like, "Caleb is pretty," but she said Darius was like, "Yeah, that's the one." Not the 2 or the 3 or the 4.
She has the type, you know, like that's.
And
what's her person?
Very muddy long. May for me. Yeah, that's what Darius was. Any other big things that you have happened? I like that we're seeing everybody's relationships grow, even ones you don't realize that their relationships are growing.
Yeah, I agree with that, Tashee.
I was about to say that's
I
for
know
Jazz.
that's gonna confuse Jazz. But they are. I could see in the beginning, like what I didn't notice about the situation that you're referring to in the reread. I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Don't squint your eyes at us because we read the books before you.
Nice. Well, then don't talk about the things that I don't know about.
It's
Jazz,
coming. It's coming soon, though.
Yeah, like really
when is soon. Is it in
like
the
6?
Like,
yeah, but 6 is a hard book. If you read the like, what is it called when they have like something at the beginning? It's a prophecy from Gabriel at the beginning.
Like a prologue. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like, oh no, it's one of those prediction. What do they call them? Prediction.
It's a prophecy.
It's like that's what it is. Prophecy. Thank you for preface though. Preface was a good one. It's a prophecy, but the prophecy actually says like, beware readers who read this book is gonna break your heart. Like Gabriel is like talking crazy to you and he did not lie.
Yeah.
Please,
I don't want to read anymore. I swear to say that after like every book. I'm like, I don't want to read anymore. I'm done.
And it's so weird by the time that you get to 6 because a lot of what you've been hoping for is happening, but who gives a crap because we got bigger problems, like
bigger stuff,
bigger things
and I
happening.
feel like too many readers don't make it to book 4 and 5 where the big stuff starts happening because the first couple of books they're really just trying to get you to like fall in love with the characters, you know, and to get to know everybody and get to know the world. And I feel like some people get bored with that part of it without making it to the part where everything really starts, like really happening.
Jazz, I think I've told you like several times, but I'm going to be interested to see how you feel by the time you get there. Like when we're closer to 6, 7, 8, who cares about books 1 through 3? Like that's how I always feel. Like who cares about those? Because everything that was of importance happened through 4 through 8. Like the first 3 books are kind of crazy. But the biggest thing that we have to discuss, well, we have to revisit Lance and Darcy, but the biggest thing is our cliffhanger. And I feel like there's 2, but I feel like I remember the books by cliffhanger. So 1, we have the kill you moments. 2, we have the big fight at the football field and they got that strange magic. They don't know what that is. 3, we have them getting the shadows and all that. 4, Tori just denied her love. Tori decided to be star-crossed instead of mates. Why are you mad?
Because I wanted them to be together. I wanted that, you know. But Tori
when you were reading it, did you think that she was gonna say yes?
For a second, I was like, okay. We're getting somewhere. She's gonna say yes. It's gonna be good things. And she's like, no. I was like, I was honestly so sad. I was so
you were like, girl, take it back. You can say yes.
Like,
you didn't mean nothing.
Like she could have. They were so close. Like, it made me so angry.
What I don't understand Yeah, what I don't understand or didn't understand was that Darius, I mean, I understand that had they said yes, they would have been pining for each other, but they're gonna do that either way from what was explained in how those bonds work. Darius basically said, just give me a chance. If you say no, we don't have a chance. But if you say yes, then we could start over and just learn to date each other. Not even just like you don't have to give yourself to me right off the
Yeah.
bat. You know what I mean? And I don't get why that prospect was so like repulsive to her. And that I understand that she was in her emotions and everything,
No.
but just to have the chance to go either way,
I think personally, just from the character that we've established with Tory, I don't think she thought he had capacity to give her what she would need to feel. I don't want to say vindicated, but that's kind of what the word I want to go with, like vindicated for everything that he had done. And to an extent, by the time we get to 5, we kind of see that like the way she did it was probably better for them. He worked more after the no than he probably would have after the yes, because like yes meant like, oh, you really want me. No means like, nah, stay away from me.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. Like now that I've like moved forward, like at that time, I was very upset. I
You were
texted.
livid?
I was like,
no.
Now you're gonna have to start sending stuff in our group text.
no,
So Ricki carry.
I got you. But no, I do see it. Like now I'm okay with it. I've learned to
accept
be
it.
okay with it. All the questions that they got, because like, isn't it like super rare that people are star-crossed? Like
there's only one other case in history.
Yep. So like, I liked seeing the effects of like how everybody like reacted to them and like we're like, what? Why'd you do that? Who did it? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes back to the other instance of Darcy and Tory hearing a specific voice in the shadows and them kind of narrowing down that they think that's Clara. Ultimately, the Shadow Princess is going to make her entrance. What were your initial thoughts? Did you think that was Clara? Did you think it was somebody else? Or Diego knowing about the shadows too? Is that not interesting? He was able to say, I saw the shadows in your eyes. Crazy. I know your secret.
Crazy. I didn't trust it. When they were like, oh yeah, let's bring Clara back. I was like, oh no, Clara needs to stay exactly where she is at. Clara doesn't
okay, let the dead rest in peace.
I was like, Clara does not need to come back. Like after when Tory had like reached in and like she had like kind of grabbed her and like she like scratched her arm. I'm like, she is dangerous. Stay away from her. Why are we trying to bring her back? I wasn't here for that. I didn't want them to.
What did you think, Ricki?
I think I felt the same thing. I never trusted the situation. And also, how sometimes I feel, I feel like, no, but this specifically, a lot of times in books, I'm like, why are they just now finding that out? Or why have they not thought about this?
Yeah.
So I think the whole time I was thinking about the fact that one of the first things they found out about their Phoenix Fire is how it burns through like dark coercion and other influences of dark magic. So in this part, I'm like, why have they not considered using it on the shadows when they're trying to get, you know what I'm saying? And they know that it works against the nymphs because we've run into multiple situations where their flame is the only thing that got them away from the nymphs, both at Christmas and then also in book 3 when they had at the pit ball, I was about to say football, at the pit ball game. So I think the whole time through this book, when they're dealing with trying to not give into the influence, I'm like, why have they not used that?
Also, it kind of pokes a hole in Lance being like this great teacher when they don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you went and did all that research and you and said, I wonder what you can do with it.
Like,
Seth finding out the secrets.
He sucks. He's so mean. But, oh my gosh. It just makes me angry. Because why is Seth like this? I already knew from like the first like couple of books. I was like, ew, he's like a butthole. But he just became more of a butthole. And like, was it in this book or was it? I don't remember. But didn't he add Darcy to like his pack?
Yeah, I think that was last book. Yeah,
the previous book.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Darcy joining Pitball and Tory becoming a cheerleader. Hilarious. If you
Or I
could
was
say,
I
like,
think
I think I would pick them opposite. If I just had to, like, off the top of my head pick, I would pick them opposite. So it's interesting to see them do so well in the other ones and being like, oh, that actually does fit them.
I
I
liked
would
it.
have mispaired them.
I liked it.
But do you think that either of them, because it's not that I didn't like that development. What I wondered though is what it added to the story. I don't know if it really added anything for me as far as their story and their relationships.
It didn't.
So if you had to pick, this is where I'm going back to your point. If you had to pick, who do you say has more interaction with the heirs, Tory or Darcy?
Tory.
I think it was a way to kind of bridge friendship for Darcy with the heirs. I honestly think that's kind of what that development was, because Tory has more like dialogue interaction. Darcy just get picked on, and the only one that really speaks to her is Seth, and I don't know if she really liked the way he speaks to her right now.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, like, because
Yeah, maybe so.
in a way, Max is removed, but he didn't. Tory done kissed 3 of the 4 heirs.
Yeah.
It's true.
But do you think that was Orion's reason for doing that, or do you think he had another reason for it?
No, I think that's author reason for doing that. I think Orion was probably trying to piss them off. I think he like kind of riling them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Personally.
And part of me feels like maybe he just wanted, I mean, because he is the pitball coach, maybe he wanted Darcy to be closer to him, you know, all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good point.
We have Gabriel here, like we said before, but I like that he's their order instructor. That's like uber duper cool. But also I like that we have a seer now, like a good seer established in the story, even though in my head it's supposed to work differently than, like, you know, a seer is supposed to be able to protect you from everything, but I get that he only gets glimpses and they can't break the rules, whatever. But they established the connection that they had in this story via Falling Star, who Gabriel's getting money from since he was a kid, who the twins were getting information from in book 1 up until he died, which was Professor Astrum. And we also need to know that Professor Astrum and Lance specifically don't like each other, because Professor Astrum was a royalist, and obviously Lance is like air power out of the way. So they had difference of opinions on stuff. Also, I think it's interesting that Lance dances with the shadows as much as he does, when he kind of established that's how he lost his dad and his sister. Yeah, but it's still like a normal part of his life. And also, forever and always fuck Stella. But because she is not getting Mom of the Year anytime soon from either of her kids, the dead one or the live one, or now the re-alive one, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I found it sad that, going back to what you said about Gabriel and Falling Star, I found it sad because I don't know if we ever established if he actually even found out who Falling Star was before.
Not till
he died.
Tory and Darcy told him, he was like, I've been getting money from Tory's exact words were something like, hate to break it to you, dude, but he's dead. Like,
yeah. I
like
found that so sad because this is somebody, I don't know if he looked for his whole life, but it was somebody who I feel like he had the only connection besides obviously
one of the few people that cared about him.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah. And he never even got to find out who this person was. And then I know that he meets, you know, we find out about their connection and how they're linked together during Christmas. And I feel like we have to talk about what happened all at Christmas because there was a lot there in the palace. But that he found that. But before that, I feel like that was the only connection he had to anything going on with his old life, you know. So it was sad.
Agreed.
I agree.
Okay, so Christmas, who's taking it?
You.
Me. I like that the twins were separated when they did their snowball fight. And it's very hard to read, watch, whatever you want to call it. Listen. See how I did that there? Listen. It's very hard to do all of that and see how good the heirs and the twins and even Lance can be all together. But all this political pressure. By the way, I don't know if you guys been seeing on TikTok, they're saying books aren't political. They totally are. Just want to throw that out there because they are. But how the political pressures around them just do not allow for their organic friendship. because they complement, their friendships complement each other in so many ways, in so many good ways. Like, it's evident repeatedly how good they are for each other. I like that they separated them up, not just separated them, but I like that they separated Lance and Caleb, because that would have totally been an unfair advantage. I like that Xavier gets included, because
I love that.
I personally feel like, specifically for Xavier and Lance, they have like had to orbit around the heirs for forever and not necessarily be included. And that kind of affects how, you know, I feel like the heirs often show a little bit of jealousy that the fact that Darius is close with Lance, you know, and vice versa. It'll never be this. They all have the stupid internal, it'll never be the same for me as it is with him and them, like, type stuff. But also it's interesting to see what their friendships would have looked like had the twins grew up with them too. Yeah, because they're people that naturally gravitate to each other. Even Grace, my homegirl, she fits in there too, crazy and all. What else did you want to bring up about? Oh, our big revelation came out about the twins and they family. Yeah. Yep. Gabriel is their brother.
Ooh, I love that. I think I predicted it. I did predict it. I was like, nah. He is either their brother or their cousin. I don't know what it is, but they are related. I don't care what anyone says. I was like, I've predicted some things in the past and I've been wrong. I know I'm right about this. I don't care what you're saying. She said, like, why I asked her, I was like, what makes you think that? She was like, the other ones were theories. I was just like, guessing, but this I'm right about. I know I'm right about this one. I felt like that was kind of an emotional moment in the very much like, because you read Ruthless Boys type of thing. It was like, oh, Gabriel deserves a family, especially specifically with the people that his family are built with. I know it has to be hard for everybody knows if there's somebody loved them at that point. Like, Ryder knows that his mom and dad loved him. They just were victims of the gang war. Dante knows his parents love him. Leon knows his parents love him. Even Elise got confirmation with her dad. Yeah. You know? Even though it was
left out.
Yeah. And Gabriel was the only one left out. So, like, for him to have family, but also, like, first of all, after reading Ruthless Boys, the fact that they immediately had, like, connection and banter, it made the girls smile, and like they were like quick to trust them. I genuinely wonder if siblings are Nebula allies, but they can't all be, because we found out later that somebody killed his brother. But you know,
whose brother? Whose brother?
You breaking up? I can't hear you, Jess. But anyway, also we have the nymphs attacking.
Oh, that was so sad. But
once also,
again, stupid Lionel. He gotta go. He has to go.
The worst part about the nymphs attacking is whoever coordinated that thought they were going to kill the twins. Yeah. Especially since they didn't witness what happened in book 3. So it was definitely, or was that book 2? Book 2, sorry. Book 2, where there was a disconnect about that fire that they used. So the secret that the twins were trying to keep, obviously, is...
It comes out.
It's all out in the open. But I think that put a bigger target on their back with Lionel. What you guys thinking?
For sure. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it continues to show us the connections that you may have been guessing about before. I feel like every time it happens, it's solidified, because why do they keep popping up when a certain person is there? You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point. And I know that eventually, you know, those things eventually come out pretty soon. But yeah, I feel like some of the questions that people may have while they're reading are continuing to be answered, verified, even if they haven't completely been verified throughout the book. So this was one of those moments, and I feel like it always comes when it should have been a very happy moment, you know.
Like
some people do not like you be happy.
They cannot have happiness. Something.
I would like to bookmark the Jazz that just said that they cannot have happiness for later date and later reasons.
For later.
Please. For later date. Some kind of happiness. Like, yes, they have their brother, and I love that. And they, they got a good moment out of that. And
but if it does feel like the happier they are, the higher the bad is. Like
literally, like if there's
like
something
you thought
good,
you was a wave, but I'm the big wave. Like very much that.
Oh my gosh, it makes me so mad.
And I think just to kind of wrap things up, one of the last things we want to talk about is the other part of the cliffhanger. Lance almost dying.
By his
and
shadow
because
sister that should have stayed in the shadow realm. Yes.
And on top of that, not just part of the reason that happened is because Tory and Darius was out here becoming mortal enemies. Like they were supposed to be there helping, but they was losing track of time.
Yeah.
On another note, the stars are kind of assholes. Y'all know what's going on and how bad they need it to accomplish this task, but you're like, nah, let me see if y'all want to be in love.
And I wonder, because I can kind of remember the circumstances behind the bonds that we saw in Ruthless Boys, but I feel like it's not just them. I feel like it's always they bring it at the most inopportune moment.
Yeah,
like
specifically Leon, because they were like climbing to go do something and losing track of time or whatever.
Yep.
So I like you said, they're just a-holes. Like, why did you choose this moment?
You know they needed help.
Yeah.
Like you knew a man Lance was dying and you know.
Or could potentially die, or that his sister was cuckoo.
Yeah.
But I think we have covered all the big plot points for book. This is 4. Shadow Princess 4. Is there any predictions? Jazz, did you have any predictions going into 5? Like what was gonna happen with Lance? Because he was pretty much dying.
I was actually so sad. I wanted to cry. I didn't cry, but I was going to cry because I was like, dude, why?
You will eventually. We're going to get one tear from you from one book.
I don't think you will.
Tashee's determined to have somebody cry.
One book.
Please. I was so sad. I was like, no. I was like, Lance can't die. I was like, he's such a big part of the story. Like, if they kill him, then what are we going to do? So I was choosing not to believe he was dead. Like with Ryder, when I thought Ryder died.
Mm-hmm. Ryder dying was kind of crazy. Like very much like, he can't die, he a main character. Wait a minute, he did.
Yeah. Ugh.
Okay, well, this has been Shadow Princess. I am so happy that you guys talked to me about some of my favorite books in this series.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this world, not this series. I really appreciate you guys for being my book besties and talking about things that nobody else really talks about, but we want everybody to know about. It's pretty awesome. You guys rock. I mean, you girls rock.
Oh.
You see what I did there? All right. Well, this has been Too Literal. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.